Hello everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Head honcho today is AMC Movie News production manager Dennis Zen.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of AMC Movie Talk. Thanks for joining us.
Also here, one half of Schmoes Know, Christian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? Nice to be back.
Also at the table, entertainment editor at IGN, Roth Cornett.
Hello, happy to be here.
In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, X-Men producers Lauren Schuler Donner and Simon Kinberg suggested that fan-favorite characters like Deadpool, Gambit, and Mystique could be getting their own spin-off movies. Donner stated, "There was a regime at the studio that didn't see the worth in spin-offs, and the current people who run Fox understand, embrace it, and we're going to do right by it. I'd like to do Gambit, I'd like to do Deadpool. We'll see. There's a lot of really great characters." Dennis, what do you think of the possibility of these X-Men spin-off movies?
Oh, finally. I mean, I'm glad they're looking into spin-off movies. I don't think we're going to get all three of those, though. I think maybe we'll get one or two. I mean, you have to take a look at each individual one. Mystique, the only reason they're really considering that is because of Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah. I mean, if it was someone else in that role, they would not make a Mystique standalone movie. You have the Gambit movie, which I actually really liked Kayla Kitsch as Gambit in Wolverine Origins, even though I didn't like the movie very much. But I think she had been talking about getting Channing Tatum in that role, and I just don't think that's a fit. So I'm not really excited about that. And then Deadpool, we've been hearing about that forever. Ryan Reynolds, I think he's good for the role. I don't know what they did in Wolverine Origins. That was like an abomination, you know, with showing his mouth shut and making him all like shirtless. And I don't know. What do you guys, Christian, what do you think?
I agree. I actually do think all three of them will be made. And the reason why is because I'm telling you, when that regime changed, Donner Company is probably going bananas because they, for a long time, have wanted to do these movies, and they are doing it right over there. They really have a good lock on the X-Men franchise. We saw that in 2000 when they debuted it. They're very close to these characters. So I do think that we will see the Deadpool we want to see, and not that whatever that mess was. That whole thing, it ruined Gambit. It ruined everybody. That movie. So or that was Wolverine. But anyway, or as far as that, I think that all three of those movies, if we have them done right in a series of years, because this is Fox's franchise. I mean, whether or not they're going to combine it with Fantastic Four, we don't know. But they have to build it out and give us new characters, and these are characters to do it.
Rob?
I agree. I think that they will do this because they've got to find a way to build out their universe that isn't solely attached to Wolverine at this point. The only character that's gotten solo films is Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's not going to play this character forever. They've got to find different leads. They have a great new youthful sort of group with the X-Men Origins, X-Men First Class, that they can build out from there. Of course they're gonna do Mystique because it's Jennifer Lawrence. Right. You know, she's the hottest ticket on the planet. But here's the thing also, rumored is that Mystique has quite a central role in Days of Future Past. Like, she is very much a focus. If you have Jennifer Lawrence, you are not gonna waste that opportunity. Laura Schuler Donner's been wanting to do Gambit forever, but I think they'll probably do Mystique first.
I'm also wondering, what's her deal? Like, what's Lawrence as far as, because again, like look at with
I don't think they have her. I don't think they have her locked. I think if she wants to do it, then they'll do it. Right. But if they're like, if she doesn't want to do it, they're not going to make a standalone.
It's going to be tough. She's got. I mean, look, she has the next Hunger Games, which is pretty much locked up for, and then but she's one of the most sought out actresses out there. It's if she likes being part of this franchise and they offer the big deal with maybe 3 or 4 movies, it's possible. I think that out of all of them, it's the toughest one because depending on her contract.
I think it does depend on her contract, but I'm 90% sure that they have her locked down for at least 3. So they
standalone movies, though.
No.
Yeah, right.
No.
So like one, but you don't think.
Movies.
But what if? But they already said though that this after Days of Future Past, there's another one.
Well, there's Apocalypse.
There's Apocalypse,
and she's locked in for that.
Yeah, but except that Apocalypse. You know, I can't say certain things about Apocalypse, actually. I know a few things about Apocalypse that I can't say right now. But in any event, I think that it's possible. I think that, to your point, we're seeing all of the studios trying to build out their comic book franchises, and this is what they have. Will they combine them? Will they do crossovers? They will. Absolutely. They've teased doing it. I think they're going to do it. They're trying to find their Marvel approach, and they've got to find it in a way that's different than Marvel. Sony's doing the thing where they're going to focus on the villains. We'll see how that sort of plays out. I think Mystique would be an amazing character because I am a big fan of focusing on the villains, but I'd also really love to see Magneto.
Well, yeah, but we saw kind of a Magneto origins in First Class. They took the Magneto script and they took the First Class script and they merged them together. The Magneto script kind of won out on that one because it was magnificent. All the First Class stuff was kind of weak.
I agree with you, but it doesn't have to be, not everything that's focused on a character needs to be an origin story. You know what I mean? You can just find a great story. In fact, I think that's a mistake that a lot of people are making, thinking that every single time it has to be an origin story. There's sometimes, well, great, we're established, we get who this is. Let's give him an adventure, let's give him something to do, let's give him a conflict.
Well, what do you guys think about Deadpool, though? Do you think they're going to retcon his story, or are they just going to blow over and just pretend it never happened?
I think X-Men Days of Futures Past is going to retcon all that. I think that's the whole point of this movie, is that, oh yeah, remember that Brett Ratner movie? Don't worry about it anymore. It's gone.
Wolverine Origins didn't happen.
Because that's what I love, what they're doing. They're essentially doing what J.J. Abrams did with the Star Trek.
The first one.
Yeah, the first ones. The way that they did it with time and they manipulated it. And everything that we've known so far, I think it's brilliant. I can't wait to see how Bryan Singer really moves it and eliminates everything, because then that opens it up to Deadpool and Gambit and everything too.
Yeah, Bryan Singer, we did an interview like a year and a half ago with him for the Giant movie, Jack the Giant Slayer Killer. And he, even at that point, was starting to talk about the idea of like, we're going to fix some things, you know, we think that the timeline is probably going to be, well, we know it's going to be reset, which opens up a million possibilities for characters getting reintroduced, but also having them be younger characters means that they can be recast as well, and we can see a new version of them.
Okay. All right, what's next?
It was first reported by our good friends at Schmoes Know that Kick-Ass 2 director Jeff Wadlow will be taking over writing and directing duties for the upcoming He-Man Masters of the Universe movie. G.I. Joe Retaliation director John M. Chu had recently stepped away from helming the project, while Lone Ranger writer Terry Rossio's original script now will be rewritten by Wadlow. Christian, what is your take on Jeff Wadlow taking over as director for a He-Man movie?
Hey, I know those guys who broke that story. Look, as far as Wadlow, when I heard the news, it all depends, again, on take. I didn't love Kick-Ass 2. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. I didn't think it had the same kind of magic that the Matthew Vaughn first one had. So as long as Wadlow approaches it from the Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings feel, and give it, like, you can't, I don't want a silly He-Man. I want the mythology. It's something that really could work if it's done in that fantastical way. I want that kind of feel, and if Jeff Wadlow has that kind of take, I'm curious, but I'm not excited yet.
Roth?
It's funny because, and give me a little background on this, because what I read was that he wasn't locked down to direct, that he was writing it, but that Mike Cahill, who directed Another Earth, was also being considered to direct.
No, then that was what. Apparently, right now they didn't want to release it, all the information. We had heard from someone very, very, very close to it who says it's done. They haven't announced it.
That Wadlow's doing it.
It's done.
That's unfortunate, because not that I dislike Jeff Wadlow. I'm not saying that. It's more, I agree with you. I was thinking, well, Mike Cahill, I don't know if you guys have seen Another Earth, but man, that would be an interesting take to do He-Man. You know, it would probably be more of what you're talking about, where it would be an approach of a grounded sort of fantastical, like they would take it seriously, which I think you have to do one or the other. You have to either just be silly, or you have to really like buy into this world and execute it very well. And I think that's I think He-Man's a tough balance. I think that Kick-Ass 2 was a very fragmented, disjointed movie. It wasn't as good as the first one. I didn't hate it. There was stuff I really
still enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
Not as good as the first, but I still liked it.
And I don't want to judge him off just that because, again, Kick-Ass 2 calls for that kind of humor.
Yeah.
It does. It calls for that. I mean, it's just the nature of the material. So again, I want to see where they go with it because there's two versions of the He-Man franchise. There's the first comic, the first cartoon that came out in the 80s that was very silly that people have made.
The one I watched.
The one I watched as well.
My screenwriting teacher created that
really?
in college. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is he rolling in the dough now?
I know.
Well, obviously not, since he was my screenwriting teacher.
But that's back before they actually got licensing rights.
Yeah. Well, but they
royalties.
released one on the Cartoon Network. I think it was like 2002, where they went more with the approach of the more serious, and more mythology into it, and how Skeletor came to be and why, and it was really cool. And a lot of people didn't really see that. If you can find those episodes, you should, because you'll get more excited for it. If they go that approach, and if Wadlow has that type and approaches it that way, then I could be excited for it.
Well, Wadlow was also rumored to be the director for X-Force as well, and so I don't know if this takes him out of contention or if X-Force is way down the line so that's not a consideration.
I mean, that's a good question. I feel like X-Force probably is a little further down the line than initially believed. It's funny because, with the tone of Kick-Ass 2, I think part of its problems, if it had, like, I liked it, like you're saying, I enjoyed it, but it did have problems. But that was inherent kind of in the script and being, which we can blame him for too. And in it being a sequel, you know. But if they went goofy, he could do that. If they went your direction, I don't think he is the right choice. If they're going for a more grounded take,
I personally hope they go goofy and silly.
Why?
I don't know. Just because I enjoyed, they had John M. Chu before, right?
Yeah.
He did G.I. Joe Retaliation. I like the first two G.I. Joe movies because they're off the wall, silly, over the top action, and I feel like they could do that with He-Man.
I'm telling you, the way they open up with Eternia and everything that comes with, again, that 2002 series of the mythology behind it, there is cool, dark stuff going on with the Legend of Grayskull and all. And Joe Silver had this property for a while and it was on a take from Justin Marks, and they were going down that road. But a lot of studio heads get involved, and it kind of falls to pieces. But that was the tone. I think that you have to go this way because the way that Eternia is set up, it's like a Middle Earth. It's like that plus all the sci-fi kind of Star Wars stuff you can get. It's you have so much potential, and I'm excited for it.
I haven't seen that cartoon series, but now you're making me want to
Yeah,
see it.
You should see it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be awesome.
It is.
And then I'm gonna text you later, like, this sucks.
No, you won't. I guarantee you won't. You'll like it.
Now I'm gonna watch it. I want to know when we're gonna see a Thundercats movie.
That one I can do without.
You're crazy. It would be so
Cat people
awesome.
coming this fall.
It would be so amazing. Go watch the live-action Thundercats YouTube pitch. Go watch it.
Brad Pitt.
All right, guys. So let's get on to the buy or sell portion of AMC Movie Talk. Ashley, what do we got?
Breaking Bad and Need for Speed star Aaron Paul's newest film, Decoding Annie Parker, has released its first trailer. Directed by Steven Bernstein, the movie is based on a true story of two women, a scientist, Mary Claire King, played by Helen Hunt, and a cancer patient, Annie Parker, played by Samantha Morton, who work together to find the breast cancer gene. Aaron Paul plays Annie Parker's supportive husband. Roth, buy or sell this trailer?
I buy it. It's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of biopics in general, or films that are sort of based on a true story. I find them problematic in a lot of ways. But I like this cast a lot. I love Samantha Morton, and I like Helen Hunt too. I love Aaron Paul. Obviously, I'm glad to see him doing a character that's different than Jesse, seemingly, of a supportive husband. But I guess where I really buy it, I'll be honest, like when I look at it, it's not like I get that visceral, like I need to go see this movie right now feeling. Like if you see something like the Godzilla trailer, you're like, get me in that theater right now. But I feel like if you're going to have a message film, that this is a message that I think is important to get out there. And if it can kind of reach more people, if we can get more awareness around breast cancer research and things like that, then great, it's done its job.
All right, Christian?
I'm going to buy the film for a lot of those reasons. I'm going to sell the wig that he's wearing. That wig is horrible.
You have to buy the wig too.
Oh, the wig is terrible. But the movie itself, again, for a lot of the same reasons, I think that it's going to be interesting to see a different character for him to play, because we kept seeing the Jesse, even in Need for Speed, it was like the good version of Jesse racing cars. So I'd like to see where he almost reminded me of like Keanu Reeves from Parenthood in this for some reason. Like when I saw
Yeah.
that, it reminded me of that a little bit. But it's for the performances is what you're going to see. I mean, is it an Oscar bait movie? Maybe.
I don't think so.
It might be. I mean, again, to where you see it and you're like, Oscar bait movies are usually they're good, but they're Oscar bait movies, you know. And I think that this could be that.
Yeah, you're right. I guess if The Blind Side ended up being kind of an Oscar bait movie, this might be an Oscar bait movie.
I'll buy it as well for now. I mean,
Yeah.
the trailer looks decent. It's a drama and a comedy together. I like the tone of it. Yeah, Aaron Paul's wig looks terrible, like really, really bad. I did like that in the trailer. You do see that he gets his hair cut, because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna watch a whole 2 hours of that. I just can't take him seriously with that hair. It's just terrible.
I think I want to see him play someone really, really smart at some point for some reason. Not that Jesse had his own intelligence, you know.
He was dopey though, yeah.
He was dopey, and this guy seems kind of dopey too. But you know what? Maybe that's just kind of Aaron Paul's thing, you know.
He just got to have a really popular TV show. He's got to create a path now. So if the path is something similar but a little different with Need for Speed, now something different but still a little dopey, then he moves on. The thing he's got going for him is that he's extremely likable.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is everyone wants him to succeed. He's just one of those guys, even when you see him in interviews, he seems like a totally down-to-earth guy. Yeah, so
nice.
that's why you want him to succeed, and his career will, oh good, Aaron Paul, you're rooting for him.
All right, Ashley, what's next?
David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, showrunners for the hit HBO fantasy television series Game of Thrones, have struck a deal with 20th Century Fox to write and direct a feature film adaptation of Dirty White Boys, a prison escape novel by Stephen Hunter. Dennis Beyer sell Benioff and Weiss writing and directing their first feature film.
I'm not sure about the title of the film, but I will buy it. I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I do reviews of it. Roth has done reviews with me. David, who was on the show with me a couple weeks ago, we do reviews for it. So I love the show. I'm excited on what they're going to do for feature films. I don't know when they're going to actually get to it, though, because Game of Thrones has been renewed for 2 more seasons, and that's not even... They're not saying that's the end. They're just renewing it for 2 more seasons.
It's not the end.
Plus, they may do it, and it's kind of their baby, so I don't think they're going to leave for it. So I don't know when they're actually going to get to this, and if maybe it's going to fall apart before they can actually do it. Christian, what do you think?
I buy it, absolutely. I mean, this town and this business is a what have you done for me lately, and they have done some great stuff for us lately. I do think they'll be able to get to it because there's 2 of them. So as far as like with Bray, and they also have teams of writers and stuff too, I think they'll be able to get to it if they're really passionate about it and they want it to work. I think that they will find time in between. You know, they get breaks, and maybe they're the type of guys that, okay, for our break, we're going to work. You know, because they're not working all the way through. I agree, they're going to be very busy for a very long time with Game of Thrones. But this sounds cool, premise sounds cool. These guys are doing it right now, so yeah, I buy it.
Roth?
Game of Thrones, like you said, has been signed on for seasons 5 and 6, and then they've said that they want to end at about 7 or 8. The books are meant to be eventually 7, but we don't know. That's also a little up in the air. So right, they're going to be busy for the next few years, but it's a 10-episode season. It's not 22, so they do have a period of time that they're not working on it, even though it is a epically scaled show. We see that they can do cinema. They do a 1-hour movie for us every single week. And I think the other thing is, like, they had been chatting with some writer friends and saying, what's the best line that you love in a book? And that's how this book came to their attention, because it has kind of a great first line. I won't say what it is because it's a little crass, but you should go look it up.
Right after you watch He-Man 2002.
That's what Google is for. And these characters are dark, complex, criminal characters that I think that these men are going to be able to bring, creators are going to be able to bring a lot of humanity to. That's what they do on Game of Thrones, so I think it'd be cool. And I don't think it has to be, maybe it'll just be a smaller film that they can shoot relatively quickly.
Well, I do think they'll do a wonderful job with it. I don't think their break is as big as you guys think it is, because they are writing, they do have some writers with them, but unlike other shows, they're writing the majority of the stuff.
They are.
And this is an epic. They're shooting 2-3 episodes at the same time.
Absolutely, and I understand what you're saying too. The reason the show is as successful as it is because they're so hands-on. Yeah. I get it, but what I'm saying is they wouldn't announce this type of thing. They wouldn't have gone after it if they didn't say, let's figure out how to do it, because you don't, especially these guys, you don't announce that you're going to do something like this if you don't really want to go after it. They're passionate about it.
I think that, I mean, again, we're picturing big production. I think probably this will be a smaller film, and they'll be able to sort of have a team around them that can put it together, that maybe they're only shooting for a few weeks, you know? And then, of course, they gotta edit it, pre-production. I don't know, man. Maybe they just don't sleep. People are crazy.
True.
You
well,
know?
they must not sleep if they're doing Game of Thrones. I mean, that's a huge epic show.
Yeah, Fincher was, when he was, you know, obviously he was producing House of Cards, so he wasn't in on it every day, but he was looking at edits while he was working on Girl with Dragon Tattoo. So people are nuts. They do multiple things. These people want to work.
I wish I had that much energy
that
these guys have.
Right.
I wish I had this much of their talent.
Yeah, you'd have the energy if you had the money they had, trust me.
Okay. What's next, Ashley?
A new picture from X-Men Days of Future Past has been released, and it shows Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters, racing up a wall. While the reception to the Avengers version of Quicksilver, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, has been lukewarm, the X-Men version has been met with much derision. Christian, buy or sell this picture of Quicksilver?
I sell it. He looks like someone lost at Coachella. It's awful. It's awful. He's in these Carl's Jr. commercials now too. It's like, why is Fox doing this? This movie is it looks incredible. It's one of my most anticipated movies of the summer. And then I'm seeing this and Mystique eating cheeseburgers, and you got this guy running around with it. It looks, compared to what they did with Marvel, just in the shots that we've seen so far, it's like night and day. Like this, but next time I see this, when I see this movie, I can sing a different tune. But what they're releasing right now, ugh, gross.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it as well. I think it looks terrible. It actually looks like a Photoshop job as a joke, like it's a meme or something. Like, oh, here's a cool picture of X-Men. Let's put this silly, stupid-looking character up there. And I'm like you, like X-Men Days of Future Past is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Looks awesome, trailers look awesome. The one concern I have is Quicksilver. Those Carl's Jr. / Hardy commercials are terrible. They are so bad that I think it's like, oh, is this a parody? Did someone make a parody on YouTube for us to watch? Because it's just so hilariously bad. Roth, what do you think?
I sell the picture, but I buy the movie. I mean, you know, I think that this, to your point, like, I want to say sorry for sounding douchey about the apocalypse, like, oh, I know things about apocalypse that you don't know. I'm just lucky enough to have a job where I get to go see stuff. Speaking of, so I think Quicksilver is going to be a very quick part of this movie. He's barely going to be in it, and they've talked about that. I think he's in this scene, and that's about it. It's a very different Quicksilver than we'll be seeing in Avengers, who's got a far bigger role, and it's a different tone, different take on the character. They can't say mutant in Avengers. So I saw the picture, but I mean, I think, have you guys seen some of the footage that they released of X-Men?
No, I mean, everything they've shown so far looks great. Like, I think we're all in agreement that, like, we all want to see this movie. Just worried about him.
Great. I really think I hope so, because I love the X-Men. I really think the movie's going to be cool. I think Quicksilver would be like this, and I think if you guys remember when First Class, those images started to come out, people were not pleased.
Yeah.
They were not pleased with them, but then they liked the movie, a lot of people.
Yeah, they released those horrible posters and a few images.
They have a way more heightened sort of take on the look of some of these heroes sometimes, and that's hard to capture in a still. Even with Electro, when they released the first images of him like walking a set, everybody's like, Electro looks terrible. It's like, well, that's not what he's going to look like once in its emotion, you know? I sell the picture though. It doesn't. The picture looks bad. I want to go to Coachella with you. Like, what are you doing at Coachella, man?
He's seen some stuff up there that maybe some other people are not seeing.
But they look like they're ignoring him. They're like, he's just the idiot that runs around on the wall.
That's why it looks like a Photoshop job. It looks like someone put that there.
Yeah, the cops are ignoring him. They're just like, forget that. He's just a moron.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
He's just gonna go eat cheeseburgers in a corner, and they're gonna film it and put it on TV.
The marketing campaign has been awful. Yeah, I agree with you. The marketing campaign has been highly questionable.
Yeah.
What kind of hallucinogens make you run on a wall? I just have to talk about this Coachella thing with you later.
Yeah, please.
All right. Before we get on to the next segment, which is a mailbag, you can tweet us some live questions at AMC Movie News, and we'll have Ashley read them off after the mailbag section. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Lawrence Reeve writes, "Greetings from the UK. I will watch every new Leonardo DiCaprio film, but I have noticed that if you look at the films he has done over the last decade, he seems to only work with well-known directors. Is this a case of him wanting to work with the best, or a case of him playing it safe by not taking the commercial or critical risk which may come from working with a lesser-known or new director? Because as he only seems to work with the big directors, are people going to see these films because it's a DiCaprio film, or because it's a insert director's name here film? Keep up the very good work which you guys and girls are doing."
Well, they're going to see it because of both DiCaprio, Scorsese, Tarantino, Clint Eastwood. However, I don't think he's playing it safe. He played sex addict, drug addict, white-collar criminal in his last movie. And, you know, if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, you see he puts himself in some crazy positions in that.
Literally.
Before that, he was in Django Unchained. He played a ruthless slave owner. Not exactly a safe role to play.
Right.
So I don't think he's doing it to be safe. I think he's doing it because he can. He's Leonardo DiCaprio, so he can work with Scorsese, Tarantino, Clint Eastwood, and the big-name directors because, I mean, he's worked with Spielberg before because he has that choice. And, you know, if you're that big of a star, you want to work with people who you know are super talented, are going to bring the best out of you and make the best movie possible. And he's chosen some of the best, so don't see anything wrong with that. Christian, what do you think?
I agree with you, and I think that, and we actually talked about this yesterday on the show, is the fact that it's not just about the star in general anymore. That you won't just go see a movie because of Leonardo DiCaprio, and the director has a lot to do with it, but it's teams that actually bring a lot of people into the theater as well, plus the story. We as an audience really crave what the content is. That's why we love trailers so much, because it's like, oh, that looks interesting to me, and you have this person directing and this person starring in it. So when you have like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's got the like you said, he has the opportunities to work with these people. Yeah, you go for it, because again, when he's 50, 60, will he still be doing these type of projects with the same directors? We don't know. So take advantage of it now.
Roth?
I mean, I think that, first of all, my favorite teaming of Leonardo DiCaprio and Scorsese was Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
Man, that movie's great. And it's a great performance. But I think, yeah, like if you are as talented as he is, you want to grab onto the meatiest roles possible. And these are the people offering them to him. You know, he wants to be in good films with great roles, and that's what he's choosing. And I think it's really natural that when you find someone that you have a good working rapport with, you want to keep working with them. I mean, that's true in any area of life. You guys probably want to work with people that you like and that you trust. For an actor, I think, I don't know, but a lot of that is about trust. You know, they have to trust that the director, at the end of the day, they're in control of that edit, that they're going to deliver on screen the performance that they intended to give. And so if you find someone like Scorsese who is Scorsese, you're going to work with him as much as you can. But I wonder if there was something interesting enough for him that he would work with a lesser known director. I'm not sure. He may just be like, well, why? You know what I mean? Like, I have these great opportunities. I'm going to continue to mine them. I remember a journalist asked him once, like, why do you date models? And he just went,
yeah.
And I feel like it's the same kind of thing.
Same response. Because
why do you
I
work with
can.
Scorsese?
Right. You know,
because I can.
Well, what's interesting to me is, as far as like, if you think about it, he hasn't done like a big tentpole movie in a long time. I mean, you know, I don't really remember the last one, but like, there was rumors at one point, take it a grain of salt, that he was asked about Star Wars. Would he want to be in Star Wars? Yeah, I'd absolutely want to be in Star Wars, because back in 2002, he was heavily rumored to play Anakin. So, or 2001, whatever that was. Anyway, so I'd like to see him do something like that. I'd like to see him do one of those kind of big, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be superhero, or, and it also comes down to, again, another thing we talked about yesterday is the fact that it's hard to say, oh, that's that character and not Leonardo DiCaprio. But I'd like to see him do something and stretch out, not just do, you know, because he's going for the Oscar. He's been going for the Oscar for a long time, and they haven't given it to him yet. But I love Wolf of Wall Street. One of my favorites.
I don't know. I don't mean to like argue with you, but I
Please do.
don't think that. I think he does want an Oscar. He campaigned so hard this year, you guys. He campaigned harder than anyone.
And he was great.
For
He was
him.
great in that
And
role.
It was the subject
so
matter, though. It was the
good.
subject matter that
matter.
kept him from winning.
Well, hey, I love McConaughey.
Oh, he was
too.
fantastic as well. I'm just saying Leonardo DiCaprio had no chance. And this comes from someone who's a big fan of Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm just saying, because of the subject matter,
It was
wouldn't
tough.
happen.
Yeah.
So I would agree with you that he does want an Oscar in the sense that that man campaigned for one so hard, and he deserves one. He's great, but I don't think he's picking these roles going like, it's sort of like that episode of Extras where Kate Winslet is like, I'm playing a Nazi nun to get an Oscar,
And
which is essentially what she got an Oscar for,
Yeah.
essentially. She wasn't a nun, but
No, I don't think that's his pure goal.
I think he's really going after the most interesting characters that he can play.
Sure, and I agree with that as well too. I'm just saying that's what's coming across his desk. That if the big tentpole comes here and then another Scorsese movie comes here, he's probably going to go with Scorsese again. But I just would like to see what happens if you went the other direction.
What superhero do you want Leonardo DiCaprio? You guys can leave this in comments.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Which one do you want to see him play?
I'd have to think about that. All right, Ashley, what's next?
Sierra M writes, "Hi AMC crew. My question is regarding directors. I know that a lot of actors are starting to direct their own movies, like Ben Affleck, but I was wondering, has there ever been a director that began acting in their own movies? Or has there been a director that stopped directing to become a full-time actor? Thanks."
I can't think of a full-time director deciding to stop and become an actor. I've seen directors cameo in their own movies, like a Tarantino.
Yeah, well, sorry, I was going to say let's not forget Shyamalan starting to put himself in everything.
Oh, well, that's...
And it was like progressing. He was like, hey, that's me. And then it's like, oh, hey, I have a big role. Now I'm the whole part of the movie. And it's like, no, stop it. We're starting to dislike you because of that, and now your movies stink.
Well, his worst cameo was in The Lady in the Water.
Yeah, but he had a crucial role in Signs. Like
did he?
Yeah, he was like the reason behind the whole.
He's always the reason.
I haven't seen that movie in a while, but in Lady in the Water, he plays the writer who inspires the mind that changes the world.
Yeah. Like all that stuff. It's like, stop that.
I'm sure if he would want to become a full-time actor, but I haven't seen anyone successfully actually make that transition. On the other hand, many actors have made the successful transition from actor to director, and I think it's more natural for them. They're on set all the time. They see what the director's doing. They get an understanding of what a director does, because I think some people don't exactly know that what a director does and what their main purpose is. And I think by being on set, actors get that. I don't think directors can get the same thing by just watching someone act.
Right.
You can't just be on set and be like, oh, that person's acting, I'm learning all this stuff.
Right.
But the reverse is true. What do you think, Rob?
I think that you're right. That first of all, a lot of times when actors sort of either produce, write, or direct their own work, it's because they're not getting the kind of work that they want. And so initially with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they did Good Will Hunting. They wrote it, they co-wrote it. They did not direct, but they weren't getting the kind of roles that they wanted. They weren't doing the kinds of films that they wanted, so they made it happen. You saw that with Sling Blade with Billy Bob Thornton, but then he went on and he had been acting before, and he does a lot of other things. Then there's somebody like Woody Allen who has put himself in a lot of his films, and he's actually good. He has a thing that he does, and he does it well. A lot of times when directors put themselves in films, we wish that they did not, or they kept it like an Alfred Hitchcock, kind of like, I'm over here, you know? But I think what you see a lot more of, to your point, is eventually actors switching to directing primarily, or full stop. Penny Marshall did that. So we see, I don't think Ben Affleck will still continue to be in his films, but there's a lot of cases of Clint Eastwood doesn't really put himself in his movies anymore. He did initially. There's a lot of Ron Howard. You know, so a lot of times the actors will transition and become primarily directors.
Oh, there's Mel Gibson as well too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and but the thing is, as far as it's a power thing too. It's power. It's creative. Like there's a lot of creativity that goes into being an actor, depending on where your status. Like if you're starting out, it's probably a lot less. But with directors, you're the chief. You get to you get to dictate where you want your movie to go, and sure, you got to answer to people on the chain, but you're the guy directing the actors, making things happen. So I think that's enticing for anybody in this field, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, and especially if you have the eye for it and the talent for it, then it's more likely you're going to want to become a director and put yourself in your movies than say, nah, I don't want to make this storytelling anymore. I'm just going to be in front of the camera.
Well, because for the actors, I mean, they are and I don't mean this they just don't have the power, you know, in terms of, they do eventually have a lot of, if they're famous enough, get a lot of creative control, but the director is ultimately, again, in charge of what the final product looks like, how much they're in it, how much they're not, what the tone is, things like that. And like Another Earth, again, Britt Marling, she's done, she's done the same thing where she sort of creates her own films because she doesn't like what's out there. But generally speaking, I do not think that you go into your vocation like I am a director and then go, no, I'm an actor. And it really works out because, yeah, for whatever reason, I mean, Quentin is great as a director, but
he's fantastic writer, fantastic director. He's not the best at it.
I think he knows it. I think he knows that he's not a good actor. Where, like, again, not to just keep bringing up Shyamalan. Shyamalan thought he was the goods. You're not the goods.
He thought he was going to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, he's like, watch this. Oh, they call me the next Spielberg. They're going to call me the next Brando. No, they're not.
I love that he was Quagmire all of a sudden.
He is.
All right, let's get on to the live questions. Ashley, you got some questions lined up for us?
I do. Patrick Hogue writes, which director would you like to see direct a film that's different than their normal films, such as Fincher directing a comedy?
I would love to see Scorsese do a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will happen because in interviews he's said he just doesn't have, he loves sci-fi movies, but he doesn't have, an interest in directing one.
Yeah.
And so, I just think that would be great. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that it would, going to sci-fi again, I just like to see what Tarantino would do with the sci-fi movie. That'd be kind of cool as well, too. And it's right away you go, oh, it'd be too quirky, it'd be too crazy, but that guy has everything he's done. I'm just like, give me more, give me more, give me more. So to see him do anything different, yeah, Tarantino.
Roth?
I know it's never going to happen, and it's talked about all the time, and he's been so close, but I would love to see Aronofsky really tackle a big event studio film.
What about Noah?
No. I mean, like I'm not
Comic
saying,
book.
by the way, I'm not disparaging Noah
Yeah.
or Aronofsky, but yeah, like he was rumored initially before Nolan did, he was in talks to do the Batman franchise. That would have been amazing. Like, I want to see it happen. It always falls apart at the last minute because I think that he ultimately maybe is a bit of a control freak, you know, and he's not going to have all of these hands in his basket telling him what to do creatively. But I would love to see what he did with a comic book movie. I would love it.
I think we will see that because I think now with the success of Noah and the surprise success of Black Swan, he's going to have the power to say, okay, you want me to do this comic book movie? Well, you're going to have to give me control.
But honestly, like everything that I hear about any big franchise film, I mean, the directors, when they talk about it, like there are Cronenberg, I was interviewing him, not that he does big franchise films, but Cronenberg was saying, because he had Rob Pattinson in Cosmopolis, and Pattinson couldn't believe that Cronenberg was just making decisions, you know, like we're going to do this and that's what we're going to do. Because on the set of the Twilight films, which, whatever, but on that set, there were so many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Every single decision, like what color are we going to have the room, had to pass through
Right.
layers of approvals. So I don't see how it's possible that he's going to have the kind of autonomy that he wants.
I think if he went to a studio like Marvel, they would give him that
but
autonomy. As long as he, you know,
Cut
made
his rate.
made the movie fit into the Marvel universe. Like, hey, this is the restrictions that you do have, but go ahead and go play.
Yeah.
And I think he could do it.
And I think that changes though too, because again, with Nolan, from when Nolan was working on Batman Begins, he probably had to jump through a lot of hoops.
Yes.
After the first movie, they're like, let him do what he wants to do. And then so Dark Knight, and I think if Aronofsky does one with Paramount right now, they'll probably give him a lot more leeway because his movie, you know, they said they were probably worried about it. They had that big problem with the cut, and then it's doing really well, so they're okay.
But what would that even be with Paramount? It would have to be
don't know.
Trek.
Yeah,
It
they'd
would
have to figure
Star
that
Trek
out.
or something.
But
That would be
That'd be
weird.
so
I
I
it'd
don't
be
know.
interesting.
I'm into it.
Oh, I'd love it, but it'd be so weird.
But you know, speaking of Paramount and other directors that work, and you're talking about guys who do smaller movies to do a bigger movie, I like to see Craig Brewer do something in the big franchise. I know he's rumored for like Tarzan at one point because he's done Hustle and Flow and then the Footloose remake. I want to see, the guy is such a talented filmmaker. I want to see him do something big.
Well, speaking of Tarantino with sci-fi, I would like to see Tarantino do a comic book movie.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he
It'd
just
be
seems
really
like it'd be.
Wasn't it rumored that he was going to do one, but it was, but it was something like really unknown? I thought
Probably.
that
That's
was.
what he would. I feel like if he did, he would probably pick something like
Non-mainstream.
Not like have him do Why the Last Man. That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
Would that be
That'd be
fun?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley, you got another question for us?
Yes, Cam Can writes, who was your first movie crush, actor or character?
I'll go Alyssa
Go ahead.
Milano because he does work for not just TV, and because she was in Commando, and so that counts as movies. Alyssa Milano played Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter in Commando, and she was just one for me. I was just like, that's going to be my future wife, and it never happened.
Oh, what's that actress's name in Big?
Elizabeth Perkins?
Yeah, I watched Big so much. I had a crush on her.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel terrible. I really don't remember. I mean, I'm really being serious, so it must not have been. It must not have been very important to me, but I know I've had them.
Yeah.
I've definitely.
I'll give you another one. Julia Roberts, pretty one.
Oh, you know what? I think that I had a crush on Colin Farrell.
From which
Yeah.
movie?
Just
in general.
In general.
Existence.
It's that Irish. He's just a.
him.
Irish Rogue.
He's just an
The
Irish
Irish Road
yeah.
kind of thing, yeah. Which I like. He's made a resurgence in his career, which is really cool.
All right, let's do one more. I think we're way over time.
Chris Binkowski writes, have a question. What is your favorite so bad that they are good movies?
Ooh.
Easy. Flash Gordon.
Oh!
But I love it.
We just became best friends.
Love it. I can watch it over and over again. It's a terrible movie, but I can watch it. I get such a kick out of it.
Oh, I mean, The Room, Tommy Wiseau's Room is pretty so bad
Yeah.
that it's good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I gotta give it to Shamhammer. I mean, The Last Airbender is so bad. It's
Doesn't
hilarious.
Doesn't it piss you off though watching that movie?
It does because I love the
what I
animated
mean.
series
Yeah,
so
right.
much, but I actually had the fortunate thing that I got to watch the animated series after the movie, so I didn't get it ruined like other people did.
Yeah, people were so angry at that one. You know which one was really funny that I actually remember seeing in the theater, crying, laughing because it was so bad? Under Siege 2. It's so bad, it's great. It's a great comedy. You should check it out.
I love that you said Flash Gordon because that was like the Flash Gordon references in Ted were highly controversial, where most people didn't like them. I loved it because I was like, Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Flash Gordon, but I am a huge fan of any like bad trauma sci-fi, like genetically engineered water beast, like Piranaconda, bring it to mommy. I love
When you say
it.
sci-fi, you mean SYFY.
SYFY. Like it's not Trauma doing it.
You're a Sharknado
It's
fan?
Asylum. Asylum does
It's
them.
Asylum doing those.
Right.
You know what? It's the weirdest thing. I really like it when, like, did you see the Debbie Gibson Tiffany one?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like.
No.
It's the best thing ever because they start in the dialogue, they're quoting their song lyrics at each other as a croctopus is after them. It's not a croctopus, but it should be.
Sharknado was another one.
Sharknado.
Yeah,
or Wicker Man. Not the bees. Not the bees. That's the best.
All right, guys, so that will do it for today. I want to thank our guest, Roth. Where can people find you?
Oh, at IGN. Every single day you can find my work at IGN, or I'm on Twitter at Roth Cornet, ROTHCORNET. I don't even know my name today. I haven't had coffee.
And our new AMC cast member, Christian. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me here at AMC at least once or twice a week, so check me out. By the way, thank you guys for being so supportive, and I got so many great comments yesterday for joining it. But subscribe to my YouTube channel, Schmoes Know. You can do that right here, and tell me you found me from AMC Movies.
And our lovely host, Ashley. Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Ashley Mova. Have a good weekend.
And you can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro, and make sure to subscribe to the AMC Movie channel, a Movie Talk channel. It's youtube.com/AMC Theaters. And thanks for joining us, and I'll see you guys next week.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.